hell is this? Skull and Bones? Head and f***s? This bozo costs $70, and that's the cheapest version. And for what? Well, Ubisoft claims it's because Skull and Bones, it ain't just a game, it's 4 of them. A quadruple A title, implying this is a blockbuster release of a quality that no other video game has dare ever reached, in which players will have the look of childlike whimsy and joy on their face at what's in store for them. Look at me. Quadruple A? What does the 4th A stand for? Anybody? This game was announced at E3 2017. It released in 2024. And there's nothing wrong with that. This game. After being revealed as the spiritual successor to the fan-favorite Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, the project underwent many changes throughout the years, until we settled on this. A lot can happen in 7 years. You can delay your game 6 times, spend $200 million on it, receive funding from Singapore, and be contractually obligated to release the game and not cancel it. Oh, and you can make it to 2nd grade now. Ubisoft made this a live service game because they don't care. I genuinely think they crossed their fingers that some weird would end up liking this game and would spend a ton of their money on it, which would potentially net them some cash in a freak accident sort of way. Because how could anybody think this would be enjoyed in any way? This game is directionless. There's nothing worth a damn in the whole package. You sail the seas, naval battle, find some treasures. 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 Holy add a talking dog or something. I don't know, mix it up! A core design element of live service games is a very obvious gameplay loop. They're designed to keep their hooks into you so you keep coming back. So many of them are pretty repetitive. But various elements help subside that repetition. Leveling up, new abilities, upgrades, collecting more and more loot, well-designed large maps, substantial content being introduced consistently, and you know what? Bless its heart, Skull and Bones does a few of these things. Shame it isn't fun to begin with. For such a big experience, it feels so hollow. Yes, there is depth. If you really want to dig into this game, I'm sure you could. But for me personally, after playing a few hours, I just don't see it. This game is boring, uninspired slop. There's barely any story, no interesting characters. For a quadruple A game, I don't think it looks good. Characters are soulless husks with stiff animation. Oh, the opening cinematic and title screen look thrown together on a budget, and you have the gall to release this at full price with this giant in-game store filled to the brim with overpriced trash costumes? This costs $10. You know what else costs $10? This. Here you go. But hey, maybe this live service game just isn't for me. You know, I do have different tastes from a Skull and Bones enjoyer. I don't like Skull and Bones. It's okay, you know, Skull and Bones folks call for Skull and Bones strokes. Maybe I'm more into regular strokes. I smell burnt toast! It's Square Enix's Foamstars, a multiplayer game all about gunking up the environment with all kinds of messy color. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bitch, this is Crayola Scoot. Free on PlayStation consoles, a 4v4 online shooter that rips off every last element of Splatoon except the Metacritic score. Doesn't really feel like they had some great idea here. Like, they must have been told, make a Splatoon-like game. Just make the ink. I don't care. And they are so lucky the developers picked foam. This just isn't satisfying to play. Like, flat out, the game isn't fun. Which, yeah, that's a problem. Especially when they're pushing for all these microtransactions. When the game itself isn't very good, how can you expect anybody to care enough to invest in it like this? Well, see, I don't think Square Enix thinks all too deep about it. I think they just look at the most money they could possibly make and say, that's it! Screw morality and logic, we're Square Enix, and we deserve to be making the biggest, most popular, profitable games on the planet. Oh, we're known for classic RPGs? Well, damn it, that's not good enough. We need to capture the heart of the Western gamer. So we got Marvel's Avengers from Square Enix back in 2020, which felt like perfect timing. I mean, right after Spider-Man on PS4, during the height of Marvel's popularity. This should have been a slam dunk. But of course, it was a live service game. Why else would I be talking about it now? Like, oh, it was actually like Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. I can imagine a world where we have an Avengers game with a single-player story mode campaign on the same level of Spider-Man PS4 that offers local and online co-op as an option. That world is not here. our world is the one with Golden Corral. The Avengers game we got is an online-only repetitive slog so focused around hooking a bunch of sad saps on its gameplay loop to ensure they squeeze some cash out of them, as they're chemically addicted at this point, that just comes off as desperate and greedy. Like, this wasn't done because it made sense for Avengers, they just wanted to make the most money theoretically possible. But this backfired tremendously. This game doesn't feel designed around being a live service. It feels like they wanted to make a traditional video game, then had to restructure it halfway through. Just 3 years later, they stopped supporting Avengers and removed it from digital storefronts. Was it worth it?
Well, if the end goal was to waste nearly a decade of development and $300 million, they f***ed it up. They wasted $200 million.
Here we have Babylon's Fall, also published by Square Enix and developed by Platinum Games, announced at E3 2018, hot off the heels of the success both companies had with Nier Automata. Man, that game was damn good, and Square Enix is working with the developer again for a brand new project. Oh, god damn it! Babylon's Fall was envisioned as if Nier Automata never ended. That sounds horrible! You know what made a game like this so beloved? It ended. You had a complete experience, finally crafted to be a video game you'd play, set down, and go, well damn, I went through that. One of Automata's most iconic elements was its multiple endings. You're meant to finish the game, look back at it, and go, damn. So how do you do that but forever? You make it slow, barely involve any story, keep it incredibly generic, and tone down everything that made Nier Automata memorable and enjoyable so you can design the gameplay around quantity and not quality. See, I got this book here, and it'll last me forever. Just check how many pages it has. Nothing good lasts forever, which is why Babylon's Fall was meant to. And it couldn't even do that! Platinum Games invested in a new studio focused entirely on live service games. They bet big on this, and for it to come out the way it did says more about the game industry's cynical perspective on live service titles than anything. Like, you don't care. You just think, oh, well, this is what we need to do to make it big around here. And it just shocks me with how much time, money, and manpower is needed to pour into these projects, how they come out so damn raw. Why does this game look and run like ass? This is a PS5 game, and it looks like a Nintendo Switch version of a PS5 game. Babylon's Fall felt so cheap, cobbled together, and generic, like it was churned out by a machine. So why would you ever think this is where I'd want to spend the rest of eternity? Well, why do I keep going back to the hee-haw slot machine at the local casino? Because that pays out. Hey, quality don't mean a damn thing as long as somebody's miserable enough to play your game. So if Babylon's Fall can just stick it out for a bit longer, give it some more time, maybe with some update. 6 signatures. Babylon's Fall was taken offline in record time, right before its first birthday. And since most live service games are dependent on an internet connection, even if you aren't playing online multiplayer, it doesn't matter. The servers are down. Babylon's Fall is no longer playable. That had to be one of the most impressive uses of fucking up I've ever seen. Alright, let's get this over with. Concord! One of Sony's many attempts at a live service multiplayer game since they were struggling so bad without one. And now, let's be fair here. As quality as Sony's first-party output on PlayStation consoles has been throughout the years, I think it's totally reasonable for them to notice a lack of big multiplayer exclusives in their portfolio. PlayStation's thing has primarily been single-player experiences, with third parties covering multiplayer for the most part. But that all changed with the PlayStation 5, as Sony acquired Bungie for nearly $4 billion. The developers behind one of the biggest online multiplayer games out there is now owned by Sony. That's it. They didn't make Destiny a PlayStation exclusive or any of Bungie's games. They primarily just bought them so they could teach them how to make live service games. Their knowledge alone is worth $4 billion? Did you try just asking them? I'm sure they would have told you. And with that, Sony committed to launching more than 10 live service games by 2026. This is totally just throwing all kinds of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, there's no way they ever expected all of these games to do well. Well, for some reason, Sony expected this one of the lot to do wonders. Concord, announced via a 50-second teaser during the PlayStation Showcase in 2023. This was their last game announcement before closing things out with extended gameplay of Spider-Man 2. This was directly after the reveal of Bungie's game Marathon. Like, They thought this was a big deal, even though this trailer showed nothing. Get excited, everybody. It's a development team you've never heard of, making a new game with no gameplay, character, storylines, anything shown in the reveal trailer, and it's another live service. Okay, well, I'll get the first letter of the game tattooed, but I gotta see more for the rest. As more was revealed, Concord looked to be a clone of Overwatch. Why not just play Overwatch? The only things that set Concord apart from Overwatch were derivative of other pop culture franchises like Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Wars. Yet for some reason, Sony thought this game was going to be their Star Wars. They launched it day and date on PS5 and PC for a larger player base, released a limited edition controller, hell, a bunch of random merch. Hell, they made a deal with the Amazon Prime anthology show Secret Level where each episode is based on a different video game. Concord got its own one! They did 2 PlayStation-themed episodes. One about PlayStation as a whole, featuring God of War, Little Big Planet, Shadow of the Colossus, Helldivers, and one based entirely on Concord. Why? What was it about this IP that had so much potential that Sony reportedly sunk hundreds of millions into development, purchasing the studio who had been working on this game since 2018, going about all these cross-promotional endeavors, all while I've been waiting for a new Ape Escape game for 15 years? Concord later launched it. Well, no, it didn't. It lasted 2 weeks. That is insane, especially for a game of this magnitude that received physical copies. They issued refunds, immediately halted sales of the game everywhere, and put the game offline while they would figure out what to do with it later. They shut down the studio and will never talk about this ever again.
I just read the definition of solution.
It's pretty wild how Sony went from overconfident to underconfident in a matter of days with this release. I mean, they could have made Concord free to play or given it a little makeover or something, but honestly, what's the point? It's not like Concord was a bad game or anything. It was just completely unnecessary. You have a million other games that do exactly this. So what could you possibly do to drive up interest for a game that isn't interesting? You need a hook with games like these if you're expecting a player base to come back every single day. And as serviceable and technically sound as Concord was, that's all it was. It was a functional, fine video game. And you ought to know, that don't mean it's worth playing. I was never upset at Concord's existence. I mean, have you seen how some people responded to it?
Now, I may not play video games, but I am not going to play Concord. And to prove it, that's all I'm going to talk about this year. One of the developers behind Concord tweeted back in 2015, "Fuck tax season." But yeah, you know, I think that's pretty fucked up. You know, taxes pay for a lot, especially as a father. They pay for the local schools and whatnot, so they're basically telling me to go fuck myself. Somebody who loves their son more than anything. I hope he's doing okay. Haven't seen him in a few weeks, but these are the employees Sony wants? PlayStation is failing. Believe me, I know a failing business when I see one. I've run hundreds. We need to band together to rip the stick out of the video game industry's ass and tell them these aren't the games we want. Oh, they just announced the game I want? F Marathon!
Now, my problem is, how many times are we gonna go through this? Live service games are not sustainable. They can be really cool, but they are high risk, high reward, and even then, that reward is like filled with spiders. It's just so deflating to see all these soulless projects pumped out, killing the studios that are working on them, while all these companies are acting like it isn't feasible to release games any other way. It's so unfortunate because many of these products would be pretty alright if they didn't adhere to a blatant, repetitive gameplay loop. Suicide Squad actually has pretty fun movement and gunplay. Problem is, that's all it has. The game itself is so damn boring. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And seriously? A Suicide Squad live service game? Who the hell cares about Suicide Squad enough to keep coming back day in and day out? Oh, I gotta log my showtime in. Multiverses had so much potential as a Smash Brothers competitor, but it has so much live service funk where, oh, it's free to play, entirely online dependent, super grindy to get new characters. It gets to a point where I just don't have any fun with this at all. If this was a standard release with all characters available, some cool single player content to go through, and good multiplayer support, I would play it so much more. But that's just what live service is. Virgin repellent.